this year before last. And while we were there, in the countryside, almost an hour away, you saw all the city schools, all the schools that were in the city, for example, down in Arusia. You saw those schools also being duplicated in the countryside due to teleconferencing. And I thought about the same, why can't it happen here? People like Dr. Leon Hicks and others who have given much education over the years can lead, for example, an effort where Bahamas Academy, he's a good 70 Adventists, or maybe a Kingsway or a SAC, could be in South Andros with a compound that is built and constructed, where, for example, if I were to think about going home with Priscilla now being in the 10th grade, want to return and be domiciled in South Andros, she can attend school where she can do physics and biology and chemistry and all those in South Andros simultaneously, like we saw in Arusha and Tanzania, where she don't lose anything and she can ask questions live and direct to the lecturer who's at St. Andrews here in Nassau. That's where how we're going to get points, because most times persons are asked about opportunity
education
and education for their children. These are some of the two major challenges along with water. And so when you look at it, internet, water, cable opportunity is important, so we must also look at the expansion of the Anchor Project concept. We must decentralize New Providence and get bodies back in the big island of Andros.
323623232238160. Hello, you're on the air.
There was a contract that was signed, there was some agreement that was signed, apparently there was a contract or agreement was signed, and that was supposed to come into effect September 2007. The PLP lost that same year. So therefore nothing ever came of that whole idea of having potable water from the government's complex in the Bluff all the way down to Mars Bay. Central Andros has the same challenge in that the water is there in the areas like Bowen Sound and Cargill Creek, like Mr. Miller mentioned, but also sometimes it's not very drinkable. It's a challenge in that regard. So the thing is now, we must find a way, whether we're going to have the water, that's good water that is in North Andros, for example, transferred all the way into Central Andros, and also in South Andros, expand the well fields in South Andros and get the water now. It's a must. Like she mentioned, all the way down to Mars Bay. Young people are returning home, but they don't want to return home to
Mr. Forbes, it would seem to me that it makes more prudent sense to have a reverse osmosis, an RO plant, in the deep south.
That's what I'm saying. I was going to get to that point. That's what I'm saying. That must happen. One in Deep Creek or somewhere in Little Creek somewhere. It must happen. My point is that it must happen because young people don't want to be returning home where they have to continue to bathe on the outside or what have you, or they have to pump when the electricity goes off, or the water, if the tide is low, is affected. A list of things could happen.